We're going to be learning about volume today of rectangular and triangular prisms. Volume is how much space is inside of the item. Let's go ahead and go to our dot cam. So we're trying to figure out how many cubes it would take to make this structure right here. The bottom of it has 8, but then we have these layers of it kind of depicted by the Legos here in different colors. Here's a layer of 8, here's a layer of 8, layer of 8, layer of 8. We have those layers of 8 all the way through this. So it's a lot of little cubes you would have to use to make this. So we want to be multiplying 3 dimensions together, the length, the width, and the height. On a rectangular prism, it doesn't matter what you call the length, the width, and the height. You can flip it around and it's still always a rectangular prism. So you just multiply those perpendicular numbers, and you can multiply them in any order you want. You will get 60 centimeters, and our units are going to be cubes because we're trying to figure out how many cubes it would take to make this. Okay. When we get to triangles, it gets a little bit harder. It's still the area of the base times the height, but the base is a triangle. And the artist doesn't always draw the shape sitting on its base. This right here, highlighted in red, is the base. That's what you need to start with, and you need to make sure you're using the 2 numbers that are perpendicular. This 4, which would also be this length here, is the slant. You will not use the slant in volume. You would use it in surface area. I need the 4 and the 3.5 because those are perpendicular to each other. And I'm going to divide them by 2 because it's a triangle. And then for the height, I'm going to fill in the 5.5. And you're like, that's not the height. The height's how tall it is. That is how tall it is. It's just the artist drew it laying on its side. By definition, the height is the distance from base to base. So the height is the distance from the base triangle to the base triangle. So I'm going to do this problem a couple ways. The first time I'm going to divide by 2 right in the beginning here. So this is 14, and if I cut it in half, I would get 7. And 7 times the 5.5 gets us 30, I believe, 38.5 inches cubed. But I have to say I don't normally do that. I can divide by 2 in the beginning, just taking one of those numbers and cutting it in half. I can do it in the middle like I did here, or I can wait and do it at the whole end. If I had 2 of these prisms, it would be a rectangle. So I usually do this rule, length times width times height, cut it all in half. That's still the area of a triangle. That's still multiplying it by the height. I just wait and do the dividing by 2 at the end. So I still use the 4 and the 3.5 because they're perpendicular. I still use the 5.5, but I do all of those on a calculator, and then I typically divide by 2 after. For some reason, it seems easier to me. So when I multiply all of those, I get 77, and then I take that number and I cut it in half. And I get 38.5, just like I did before. So this is typically the rule I use. Length times width times height, cut it all in half. However, you can do the triangle. Length times width divided by 2 and multiply it by the height. You need to divide by 2 one time. Doesn't matter when that one time is. Just do it once. Okay, let's try that one more time with that triangle. I'm going to do that shortcut rule of length times width times height, and I'm going to cut it in half at the end. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. That's a little bit hard to see those numbers. So on the triangle, I always start with the triangle, kind of blocking that out. I'm going to use the 27 and the 36. I'm not going to use the 45 in volume at all. This is a slant. It would be used in surface area, not in volume. So I'm going to do 27 times 36. Okay, now this is my height. And because it's a triangle, I'm going to divide by 2. I do my dividing by 2 at the end. You can do it in the beginning if you want. So I'm going to push those buttons on my calculator. 27 times 36 times 28. Whew, big number. 27216, and I'm going to divide that in half because we're talking about a triangular shape. So that gives me 13,608 feet cubed is the volume or the space inside that shape. Volume is the space inside. Oops, I didn't put cubed, I put squared. Should be feet cubed, or cubic feet would be another way to write that. Okay, remember, it's your choice. Divide by 2 in the beginning, divide by 2 in the middle, or divide by 2 at the end, but only divide by 2 once, whenever you want.